Hi there, Pisces. This is Carrie Mubarak at wooingnature.life. I hope life is treating you well. This is your reading for June 2020. So I am going to be focusing in the tarot on work this go round. Last month we talked a little bit about love and relationships. We talked about communication because everybody was hemmed in and holed in with the coronavirus, and so we talked about relationships and trying to deal with some better ways of communicating with each other if we are learning how to manage those relationships in close quarters. But this time I felt moved to talk a little bit about work because we are getting back into the mindset of either going back into the work sector or we have changed our work situation. For some of us, we are not going back to our work situation, so it's brand new. And so I just wanted to focus on that. And I will also be reading from the Sibyl's Oraculum. The Sibyl's is a different system. It's a 44 card system. So for those of you who are numerologically inclined, you will know that the 44 is the number that's associated with building and building from a spiritual platform. So for those of you who are building on your spiritual traditions or building on what it is that you have been learning internally for yourself over the past few months or years or so on and so forth, we can take a bigger picture look at that for you, Pisces, for June. That system looks at a central situation, and then the things that may cause the hiccups, and then they'll give you a couple of um, forms of advice about that, about what to do about that. So we'll get into that later. And then I'm also going to be reading from this is Deborah Kopp Chapin's soul cards. So the soul cards I'm going to be reading from as well. Really like that deck too. I've been following Deborah Kopp for a pretty long time. These cards, for those people who are really not interested in tarot, some people don't like to be read with tarot. This is strictly an artistic deck. It does come from an intuitive method that Kopp Chapin has created or developed or intuited or whatever, but it is a totally intuitive process of creating the art. And so the art that is encapsulated in these cards can then translate to us as readers. So I really like that deck. Again, we're going to be reading about your work. We're going to be reading from the Steampunk Tarot, and then I'll pull a couple of cards that are associated with the animals, so that we can look at some animal spirits too and see how our animal spirits are speaking with us. All right, so we are starting with the Sibyl's Oraculum first. Um, Again, this is a 44 card system. One card is pulled from a deck of 11, from 4 decks of 11 cards. So we'll be looking at those too. So I'll just be pulling 4 cards from this deck. And this is for Pisces for the month of June. Pisces, month of June. Pisces for the month of June. Come on, Pisces. There you go. Alrighty. And I'll pull one from the blue. Alright, so I have here Transformation and the Mirror. Transformation and the Mirror. So this is a transformative period, and I am reading these strictly intuitively because there's a whole nother system. There's a text. There's, sections within the text and you have to match them up. So I'm just going to be reading these cards intuitively for you today, Pisces. And if there's anybody who's really interested in the read that comes from these, I can do the full reading for you privately, and you can just reach out to me there, and I'll leave that information in the description box for you. But for the month of June, we're talking about transformation. That is happening for a lot of people. Matter of fact, I've been pulling this card a lot. We're clearly in that mode. There's no doubt about it. If you look at what's going on in the macrocosm, you know that it's affecting you personally. I don't need to repeat that part of life. We're all living it and we're all getting it. But this is a time for you personally as well. Yes, we are going through a major transformation across the globe, but you yourself are making that transformation as well, which is what's bringing up the mirror here. So when I think about that, it's like looking within. It's turning within, looking within, seeing your deeper self, because there is a deeper self that you know that you have because you're Piscean. That's not a mystery to you at all. But I think sometimes we can look deep but not really analyze, not really take account, not apply the information that you have when you look in the mirror. So I'm feeling like from this card, as far as your transcendence or your ascension process is concerned, for some people I'm using terms that people may be familiar with, but as far as going through your ascension process, it's important that you look within, that you look at yourself, not from a negative and not from a positive, but from a both. Because you can do both. You can see both sides of your situation, and you need to be able to see both sides or both perspectives. So it's not just on the surface. As you know, you just need to go a little bit deeper. Sometimes we try to avoid the dark. That happens a lot, but you have to see both sides in order to make this level of transformation, because this is a very deep level of transformation that we are going through clearly. Otherwise, it would not be happening to this scale or at this scale. So just think about that as you are processing through the month. It's requiring depth on your part and going a little deeper. I feel like you know about going deeper, Pisces. That's just your realm. But I think what's happening is that you're just going deep and hanging out there, but you're not really coming up with anything when you come out the water. Maybe you're not coming out the water, but you need to come up to the surface with what you found when you went down deep, and then you've got to take that information and you got to be able to apply it in the physical world. Because there's no need in having the depth of information or the depth of yourself or the depth of your soul if you can't figure out how to make it work for you on planet Earth every day, day after day. It's just random information. If y'all want random information, go to Gemini. All right, so we've got optimism and we have play here as far as the things that you need to do in relationship to this. Okay, so you are transforming, you are changing, you are looking at your inner self, you are looking at all aspects of your inner self, Pisces, and then you are looking at that information and using it and applying it toward your physical life. What did I learn? What do I know about me? How do I tick? What moves me? Socially, sexually, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And now that I have that information, well, I don't need to be doing this over here because that is in incongruence with who I am. I've been doing this A, B, and C over here, which is a total antithesis of what my spirit has aligned is aligned to do. Because I've gone deep enough to know who I am. I've not gone deep enough to know what it is that I like, don't like, prefer, what turns me on, what turns me off, what triggers me. I know all of that information. Okay? But it's just not just supposed to sit there. and fester or sit there and become just something to occupy your mind with. You have to know what to do next. All right, what to do next. One, remain optimistic. You need to remain optimistic. You need to keep your mind focused on the positive and the positive sides of what you learn from looking in the mirror. Because it's positives on both sides. When I say the positives, I mean positives on both sides. Because it's a positive side to your negative side. And it's a negative side to your positive side. Ask somebody who overgives. Very positive, be a giving, compassionate person, but you can overdo it and become a doormat. So it's a positive side to the negative, negative side to positive. You have to see the positive side of all aspects of what you observe when you get to the depths. Because you're going to be going to the depths. Don't worry about it though. You'll figure it out and you'll be okay. All right, play is also the thing that you'll want to do. Because Pisces, you know how you can get bogged down with it. You can get bogged down in the emotional realm. Well, the play and learning to play and have a good time in your life is going to it's going to make you have some levity. And you need the levity because you can't have all the weight. You can't deal with the depth and the weight that comes with the depth, because you can't get low without going deep and having the depth, right? But you have to balance it out with play. So remain optimistic, have some fun, okay? Enjoy yourself, but know that all of that is a part of this bigger picture process that's going on with you, Pisces, during the month of June and beyond, because this transformation thing is happening for a minute. We'll look and see what comes up next month and see how it's shaking out. But transformation, we are all going through the changes. So how you deal with the changes, Pisces, may be different from how somebody else has got to deal with their changes or whatever. But for you, the key is remaining optimistic and adding some fun, some joy, some recreation in your life. And that could come in the form of sports too. So I just wanted to add that in there. All right. Moving right along, we're going to Deborah Kopf Chapin, and we're going to look at the soul cards. I'm just going to pull 3 of these cards for Pisces for June, just so that we can kind of get in a little deeper. Kind of strengthen our purview of the Piscean experience in June. Very good. All right. Let's see what we got here for Pisces in June. Okay. So the first card I have is this one right here. And again, I was telling you with these cards, these are not based on any kind of spiritual system at all, or any ancient system other than ancient system of being an artist. And so these just are there to evoke just feelings and emotions from you about it, whatever you see in the card. Take that with you and let that resonate with you. And then I can tell you what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is the need to be open, to receive messages from the spirit realm. It's an opening to me is what I'm looking at. And it stems from your heart space being clear, making sure that your heart space is clear. And you being able to be open to the messages that are coming through you or to you from the spirit realm. So it's important to remain open and meditative as well. All right, so I'm seeing you going into that void again, going into that deep space, that deep place within yourself, your inner space. I'm seeing that being a space of meditation where you are a space that happens during meditation, where you are able to connect to your angelic spirits. It's angelic spirits that are trying to reach you there. I'm also seeing that This has to do with being able to help you make the adjustments in your mind space so that you can be well informed about your future. That information is going to be coming from the spirit realm. So, I mean, as it usually does, but I'm saying you are going to really, really sense that. That you are getting these messages from on high. Could be during your sleep, could be during a dream phase. For you Pisces, when you are sleeping or when your mind is at rest, when your mind is completely rested and free is when this information starts coming through. There's also going to be some messages for you about surrendering, being able to let go of some things. There's a few things that you need to let go of in this process of transformation as well. And there's some repatterning that has to happen as far as your thinking is concerned, but they're working on that as well. And I'm also getting that they're working on that with you during your sleep. So your spirit guides they're doing a lot of work on you while you're resting, but it's to connect you to, I'm going to say, a cosmic space. Some of these words are a little flaky for me, but I'm just using them because I don't know the other words to use. But it's like a cosmic space, and cosmic is like beyond yourself into the other aspects of nature, like the stars and the moon and all of that. Okay? You may find that you have a sudden interest in astrology. You may find that if you had an interest in astrology before, now you're really having an interest in it. You may feel drawn to go outside at night to look at the moon, to look at the stars, to connect to the moon, to connect to your luminaries. All of that. You may feel like you want to do it. So that's like cosmic space is what I'm talking about. But that's also the space from which you get inspiration. It's also the space from which you get divine teachings, also spirit guide teachings, downloads, information like that that's coming through to you, is happening when you make that connection to the inner space or the void. Okay. So, and then we have this card, which to me is definitely about you speaking your truth, but speaking your truth from a place of youth. If you look at this card, there's like a grown person, but they're speaking. But to me, this card, the person in the card is very youthful. And so to me, I feel like, you have to express yourself the way that you would naturally. And the most natural way that you expressed yourself was when you were a child, before people started telling you not to say this and not to act like this. But when you're free, if you notice children, they're very free and honest and open in their speech. They get right down to it. They don't pull any punches. And that's because they don't have those filters. And they don't have those filters because nobody told them to have the filters. But like when they say things and then the adults say, oh, don't say that, then they start clamping it down. And so now it's time for you to come back and speak, but speak as you would, not like a baby, not like a child, but you know what I'm saying. You have to be in that space so that you can speak honestly from your heart. And again, we're talking about this transformation, and we're also talking about looking in the mirror. The mirror goes all the way back. The mirror goes all the way back to your beginnings, to your childhood, through to your elemental self is what I'm calling it. So you need to be able to speak and communicate and express yourself freely, but express yourself as you would have had nobody ever tampered with your natural way of seeing things and communicating and that kind of thing. And that really takes some transformational work. It really does, because we're trained, and we're trained to not be ourselves. We're trained to not be honest. We're trained to not speak our truth. And so the time is up for that. It's time to start speaking from that place, because it really is from your heart. It's when your heart is being pure. So anytime you feel a hesitation about saying what's really on your mind, just take a deep breath and ask for a way. for that message to come through so that everybody is clear, because I think that might be an issue. All right, moving right along, we're going to the Steampunk Tarot. Steampunk Tarot is my go-to for work and career, so I decided to bring those out for our tarot section of the monthly reading. Yep, we're going to get into a little detail today about work, career, entrepreneurship, ventures, anything related to business for Pisces for the month of June. What Piscean followers, people who are on the line, people who are connected to wooing nature in any way, a part of that assembly. Yes, we are talking about the Five of Swords. So we got some conflict here. Something in the realm of the mind, that's the swords. It looks like there might be some competition going on between you and another work partner. Might be there's some issues going on with there, but I'm going to say they're probably power struggles, ego struggles. Could be a boss involved in the ego struggle, or it may be somebody that you need to go through for advice. I'm seeing somebody who really does know what it is that they put their foot down. Okay. They put their foot down. They kind of draw their line in the sand, or they might be the type of person to draw